Orleans. Since 2019, she has doubled the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children's research and media engagement outputs, tripled its staff, doubled its annual revenues, and secured the first 3 seven-figure grants. She also helped conceive, launch, and co-chair the steering committee of Go For Louisiana, a comprehensive effort that engages parents and early childhood health and education providers in leading the transformation of the state's early childhood systems to better meet the needs of families. Let's welcome Libbie today to Press Club. Libbie, you remember to repeat the questions. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want that? Yeah.
Thank y'all so much for having me. Again, I'm Libbie Sonnier, Executive Director of the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children. The Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, really, we seek to be a source of data and research and pertinent information related to policy on young children birth to age 4 in our state. We work tirelessly along with trusted partners, actually many of y'all are in the room today, to really shed the light on the state of early care and education in Louisiana. We know that children's brains are much like the foundation of a house. If it starts with a faulty foundation of a house, we know it's far more expensive to fix it later than if we really invest and make sure that that foundation is solid. We know that 85% of a child's brain development happens before age 3, and that we know that by 90% by age 4. And so these critical first years of life are important. We know that children begin to learn how to regulate their emotions, solve problems, express feelings, and organize their experiences at an early age, and then use those skills when they arrive to school. Particularly high-quality early care and education prepares our young children for success, enables families to be productive in the workforce, and as well as being supports in a thriving economy. We've worked with many people like Dr. Charlie Zena, other experts in our state, and experts nationwide. We are very clear about the benefits of early care and education, not only for our children, but for our economy in Louisiana. Furthermore, child care is really a workforce productivity issue. Child care instability costs our businesses in Louisiana because our parents are not able to go to work, and it's causing economic losses statewide. Child care breakdowns in our state cost our state economy $1.3 billion, that's with a B, $3 billion annually due to child care breakdowns, and cost our Louisiana businesses approximately $762 million annually because they don't have a workforce that they can rely on to come to work and help these businesses meet their needs. Investing in early care and education is thought now to have a return of investment of anywhere from 13 to 18%. I don't know about y'all, if you've heard me before, you've heard me say this. I don't know about you all, but I can't put my money in any bank and get 13 to 18% return on investment. And so why wouldn't we invest that in our young children? Child care and investing in early care and education matters because it allows children to get the skills that they need to be successful in school and in life. It allows parents to go back to work. It provides businesses with a reliable workforce. It really provides stable child care options for families and supports early care and education providers, which are usually predominantly small businesses owned and operated by women of color. It also ensures that children enter into kindergarten ready to succeed and reduces the likelihood for remedial services. Right now, when children enter into kindergarten in the state of Louisiana, we have 60% of children not entering into kindergarten ready to interact with kindergarten material. So a child that starts behind typically stays behind. And what we also know is that dosage matters. No baby is born at 4 years old. They don't just pop out being 4 years old, knowing how to talk and all those types of things. And so if we only provide, which we've done a fantastic job in the state of Louisiana of providing 4-year-old quality programs, but dosage matters. And so if we want to make sure that children are starting at school ready to interact with the material at kindergarten, we need to allow options for families to have access to quality early care and education those first 5 years of life. It is always a parent's choice. We know that parents are absolutely the first teachers, but what we have right now is 173,000 children in the state of Louisiana, birth through age 4, that are at risk, and we have 116,000 of those 173,000 that are not being served. So we have a large gap to fill. Additionally, what we need to understand is that 2/3 of our children in Louisiana have both parents or their single parent in the workforce. Our parents are working. 61% of our mothers with infants go back to work in their first year. In other words, these parents really are relying on quality childcare by someone other than themselves to be able to go to work. from the past legislative session was, in the state's budget passed by the legislature, $44 million of new funding going to early care and education in House Bill 1. And that happened on the last day, within the last hour of the legislative session on June 8th. This is the largest state investment into the child care assistance program in over a decade. And we want to really thank our legislative champions as well as our Ready Louisiana Coalition. And our Ready Louisiana Coalition is a coalition made up of 180 organizations that are just focusing on increased investment in early care and education. Also what happened is Governor John Bell Edwards supported early care and education, and that he used his line item veto authority to bring more funding into early care and education, bringing it up to $52 million. So $52 million going towards early care and education in the state of Louisiana. To think about 5 years ago, when we had no state general funds dedicated to early care and education and increasing access, to now, cumulatively with this $52 million, $87 million of state general funds going into early care and education is staggering. And that didn't just happen because the Louisiana Policy Institute does a whole bunch of data and research. That happens because we have child care providers that are willing to advocate and stand up for what's important. It happens because business leaders have said, we cannot allow our state to lose economically $1.3 billion a year. And our businesses can't afford to lose $762 million a year annually due to child care breakdowns. And so this investment of $52 million is critically important. Is it enough? No. But we are very, very grateful. As one legislator had said to me, Libby, I'm not sure I want to see you next year asking me for money. And I said, well, Representative, babies are still born. And so I'm going to have to keep coming back to ask you for more investment in young children. And if we think about it this way, we wouldn't just not invest in third grade for 1 year. That would be ludicrous. Why wouldn't we invest in our young children from the time, really prenatal, all the way through to make sure that they're ready for success in school and in life? Another accomplishment in this legislative session allows Monroe City School Board to levy an ad valorem tax for the purposes of funding early care and education at the local level. So that was another thing that happened during this legislative session. It'll have to go to the people, all kind of things have to happen, but just to be able to try to do that. And then furthermore, our Early Care and Education Commission that started in 2018 was really, has been transformative to name how many children are at risk in our state, that 173,000 children that we know that are at risk, and we know that we're not serving 116 of those 173,000 children. This commission has helped us name that. This commission has also helped us name that we need $115 million a year for a decade to make sure that we're serving our children that are at risk in our state. But this commission has had to evolve as we have gotten new funding and we've learned more and we've done new data and research. And so this commission, during this last legislative session at the helm of Representative Barbara Freiberg, looks at a task force of that commission to also look at how do we sustain and grow early care and education in our system? How do we do that? And so what we're thinking about as part of Representative Freiberg's bill is how do we create a formulary that is sustainable for funding for early care and education. So for K-12, we have the Minimum Foundation Program, we have the MFP. What would it look like if I call it the WEFP, like Wee Little Babies? What if we had a WEFP, a formulary, that would really take into account what it really costs to care for and educate young children in our state, so we're not having to beg for scraps every year and really be planful about what we're doing. And so that's exciting to think about. We can dream about what a formulary could look like for sustainable funding in our state. And so those 173,000 children in our state, with only, approximately right now about 20,000 children being served, we have a delta. We have a large delta of children that need to be served. And one of the constant questions that we get asked is, if there was enough money, do we have enough child care centers? And what we learned during COVID-19, with all the influx of COVID-19 dollars, we were able to serve at peak over 28,000 children in our early care and education system in our state. So what did that teach us? If the funding is there, our businesses will expand. They will figure that out. And so we know that our early care and education providers are willing to meet the challenge. They're ready to grow their businesses because they're small businesses at the end of the day, and they're ready to serve children because at the heart of who they are and the essence of who they are making sure young children are going to learn, change, and grow to their best ability. And so children, again, who start behind at kindergarten, stay behind. That dosage, those first 5 years, absolutely matter. And we want to make sure that children start kindergarten on day one, ready to learn. We want to make sure when third graders finish third grade, they're reading on grade level, and when they go into fourth grade, they're reading on grade level, ready to go. It also means that this really is a cumulative effect. We have to start when they're young to go all the way through, make sure we're reading on grade level at fourth grade, finishing high school, and then if they want to go into post-secondary, whether that's a technical college or a four-year university, that they're set up, ready to thrive. Because we at the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children know this. If we want a strong Louisiana, we must have successful children. And so we have done a lot these last 5 years and really last 20 years related to early care and education in our state. We have miles yet to go. What we also know is that there's widespread bipartisan public support for early care and education in our country and in our state. It's not a blue or a red issue. It truly is a purple issue that we can all get on board in. If we want to keep Louisianians in Louisiana, and we want to keep young families here, we want to make sure that they have access to high quality early care and education. And as my economic development friends tell me frequently, now when businesses are coming into the state and talking to our economic developers, they're asking about how many child care centers are in the vicinity, what are the quality, and what are their hours, and how are they able to meet the needs of families. Because at the end of the day, that's what these small businesses do. They meet the needs of children and families. Child care is the economic backbone of our state and of our country. And so as we often talk about that children really are our future and where we need to spend our time, money, and effort, well, I will tell you that the state budget is a value proposition. And our value proposition tells us right now that we spend less than half of 1% of our state's budget on young children related to early care and education. So while we've had tremendous growth and amazing results with our accountability system in the state of Louisiana being in the top 20 in the country, we have miles yet to go. And we know that if we want to go fast at something, we go alone. But if we want to go far at something, we go together. And we need to go far for Louisiana's children. Their lives and our lives are depending on it, and they deserve our very best because they are the very best and the essence of who we are. I'm happy to take any questions. Yes, sir.
There's definitely a link between lack of early childhood education and juvenile crime. Out in the district where I work, Tony Clayton has been very supportive of that, very outspoken about it. What kind of response have you gotten from DAs in other parts of the state?
So the question was surrounding about the link between juvenile justice and the criminal system and early care and education, and what kind of support that we have seen from DAs. And what we've seen with our partners in DAs, particularly if I think about Hill or Moore, he is invested in making sure that young children are able to access high quality early care and education. And so that's here in New Orleans, in Baton Rouge. We know in New Orleans that Jason Hughes was a huge, not Jason Hughes, Jason Williams was a huge proponent of the millage that passed in New Orleans. Like he was like, this is a juvenile justice issue and it's a prevention issue. And so our DAs across the state have been supportive. If I think about Ascension Parish, They were sitting on a little over $8 million of juvenile justice dollars that were sitting there waiting to build a youth facility for juveniles. And what their parish government said is we could afford to build that facility. It would be hard to upkeep it, but we could afford to do it. But wouldn't it be great if we invested in our young children so that they don't even need the juvenile criminal justice system? And so what we're seeing is a lot of communities investing in their young children, and we're seeing our sheriffs and our chiefs of police and our DAs that are willing to help come to the table and talk about how do we increase that investment. Yes, sir.
Do you use Khan Academy Kids?
The question was, do we use Khan Academy Kids?
Yes.
And the answer would be that is up to the child care centers providers of the materials that they use. It would also matter in the accountability system if that was part of a tier 3, a top tier curriculum program. Yes, sir.
Could you address briefly what is the quality? What does tier 3 mean?
Sure. So if we're talking about quality in Louisiana related to early care and education, we have different types of child care centers. And type 3 child care centers are those child care centers that take part in the accountability system. So they're the ones that are willing to take public dollars and be a part of the accountability system. And so these child care centers have third-party observers come in to look at quality and teacher-child interaction. They look at, it also has to do with the tier of curriculum that is being used, as well as constant assessment and evaluation to see where children are. And so for any child care center that is accepting public dollars in our state, so if we think about the $52 million that we just got, they have to be in the accountability system. Because one of the questions we get asked often is, how do I know that these public dollars are going to good? And what we can say is we know they're going to good because they're in the accountability system, and this accountability system is in the top 20 in the country. And because we have a unified early childhood system, which means that early Head Start, our child care centers, as well as our 4-year-old programs that are in the schools are all a part of the same system, and we're looking at the same things to make sure that we're measuring quality so that children are ready to enter into kindergarten, ready to learn. Yes, sir.
As y'all are receiving more funds via the legislature, so how do y'all manage that group?
So y'all is not the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children. The $52 million are the state general funds as well as the federal dollars that flow through our state. Our lead agency is the Department of Education, and they work with our Board of Elementary and Secondary Education to help make sure that we're looking at rates that can cover the cost of care, that we have a comprehensive coordinated system to get children in and make sure that they're qualified, and that those dollars are going to those type 3 quality rated child care centers. Yes, ma'am.
The measure that, I guess it was a resolution that was passed regarding the city of Monroe, was that just an incentive for them to possibly pass that tax, and would that help to influence other communities to do the same thing?
So technically, Monroe didn't have to get that piece of legislative instrument done. They could have actually done that themselves. But Representative Pat Moore felt like it was really important to have the buy-in of the legislature support to be able to increase investment with Monroe School Board into their local area. Did that answer? Okay. Yes, sir. The question was, is there a minimum age for a child to come in? Usually 6 weeks is the earliest that a child care center will take. And that's licensure types of things. So. Well, thank y'all so much for having me.